Well, I started when I was around 7 or 8, I think. My father had an interest in the guitar and Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, that sort of stuff. And he also had friends in bands around London. I remember there was a band called the Angelic Upstarts, and they were, you know, kind of a punk rock outfit touring, you know, around London and whatever. We used to borrow guitars off them, and Dad he showed me a few chords, and I went from there really. But I mean, I think I got my first guitar when I was around 8 or 9, and then I actually worked in a music store. We used to go into this music store after school when I was about 12 or 13, and the guy that ran the music store, his name was Steph K, and he was in a cover band, and they played Maiden, and they played Sabbath and UFO and Thin Lizzy, and walking in the guitar store as a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, it was quite a novelty, I think. And he said, you know, you should get up and do a few songs with us, you know, as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old playing Hendrix and, you know, Purple and that sort of, you know, greatness. So we started off there, and I still know him, and he's still playing around London. So whenever I'm in London, I still get up and play some songs with him. And you know, that kind of got me into the gigging circuit, really. That kind of got me to take it seriously in terms of, you know, sound and interaction with the band members. And you know, I think it was an education without knowing it was an education at the time. You know, how to interact with people, how to communicate with other musicians, and it's almost as if you know, you're not in the music business, you're in the bar business. You know, you're there being paid by the bar manager to put on a show to get people to buy beers, and it was kind of an insight really into my place and the band's place in the scheme of things, and you know, getting there on time, getting your gear in shape, and all that sort of stuff. Really, I think that you know, up until that point, I'd just been playing in my bedroom like everyone does. And again, the education of Lizzy and Sabbath and UFO and Hendrix and, you know, Priest and Maiden and all that sort of stuff was all going in there. And that's literally what I did for the next sort of 10 years, you know, trying to get my own thing off the ground. You know, you do things on the side, getting your own world-beaten material together in various forms. But there was always an undercurrent of, you know, if you wanted to work, you played covers, and you go around playing covers around London and the UK. And the staple diet of the rock guitar player was, again, Priest, Lizzy, Maiden, Sabbath, Purple, Rainbow, you know, all those sort of things. They still are, you know. And then, you know, a few things in between, but mostly that. And I think I'd be still doing the same thing, really, if that phone call hadn't come through. You know, it's a love for the music, it's a love for what you do, what you grow up with, and, you know, that buzz from, I still do it when I'm in London or, you know, wherever. I go back and jump in and do a few songs with whatever band, really. It's that sort of, you know, a few beers and, you know, the interaction with the crowd, whether it's in a bar or an arena or a stadium or whatever. We do it for the love of the music, and personally, the love of the guitar. I love the guitar. You know, I can sit down at home and play it for hours, you know, and, you know, it becomes part of you, you know. Some people project better, they represent themselves or what they want to say better with an instrument, whether it's a guitar or, you know, whatever it may be. So I just love the guitar. But I actually got in a band called Dirty Deeds when I was 21, and they were like a signed band, you know what I mean? I think we were signed in Japan and in Europe, and we went over and done a Japanese thing and stuff like that. And it was the first record that I'd co-written properly, you know, it was signed by a label or whatever. And Steve Harris from Iron Maiden was the executive producer on the record. And through there I got to know Steve, and through Steve, his daughter was doing a solo project, Lauren Harris. She was doing a solo project, and he called me up one day. I was working in a bar in London, and he called me up. It was a Thursday. He said, "Can you be out in Miami tomorrow?" Like, it's Steve Harris on the phone. What am I going to say? No, Mr. Harris, I can't. I'm selling pints. So I said, absolutely, Mr. Harris. And I was on a plane the next day to Miami. Met Lauren, and it started off as a session, really, and it kind of grew into a band. You know, it grew into a rock band. You know, I think I was in Lauren's band for about 5 years. You know, we started off as a solo outfit, and it morphed into a band. You know, so we've done a couple of tours with Maiden, we've done some tours with Thunder, Motley Crue, with In Temptation, and you know, it was great fun. You know, being in a band on the road is tough, but you're a family. You know, as anyone will tell you. And from there, Priest gave me a call. Really, I think they you know, I was kind of I'd been on these big tours with Maiden, you know, playing in front of 80,000 people, but no one knew who I was. So I was in like a, you know, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You're the right temperature of porridge. You know, you're not too well known. You haven't been in every, you know, you're not in every band on the Sunset Strip, and also you're experienced enough to not go to pieces on stage, to not get stage fright, to know what to expect from that sort of schedule, audience, and you know, that travel situation. So I was right, you know, in the right place for that sort of thing to be considered, and luckily enough, they did consider me, and here we are, almost 8 years later on. So it all goes, you know, from the covers, from your own bands, trying to, you know, you look to bands like Priest and Sabbath, how they tell stories with music, and, you know, people like Thin Lizzy, you know, Phil Lynott, you know, the way he was a poet, you know, he told stories, he took you on journeys, all that sort of stuff that you learn when you're younger, how to create songs, how to perform, and then one day if you get that call and you know, for the opportunity, and you're considered for something like that, you're ready. You know what to do. You're not big-headed, but you know you can do it. You sort of tick off all the boxes. You know, live experience, travel experience, tour experience, writing experience. You know, all that sort of stuff. Hopefully, can prepare you for an opportunity when it comes along, whether it's music or whatever it may be. You know, you might be a race car driver or whatever it is. But if you're ready and you know you've got a shot, and you grab the bull by the horns, hopefully, you know. That's what happens. Well, I remember getting the call from Judas Priest management, and I remember it was a Sunday, and they asked me to go down the next day on the Monday, and I tried to sound, you know, I've got a few things on this week, you know, but I'll try and move a few things around. I had nothing on, like, I was just trying to sound like I was, you know, I had a few things on. So they said, oh, you can come down later on in the week. I said, no, I'll be there tomorrow. And I borrowed the train fare from my mother. I didn't have the train fare, so I had to borrow the train fare off Mum, and I went up to meet. It was Glenn and Rob and the management, and you know, we discussed what they wanted, what they didn't want, and they also discussed what I wanted and didn't want. You know, they wanted someone who was in the band, and someone with their own ideas and opinions and their own wants and needs. And, you know what I mean? So it was very clear from the beginning that they wanted someone in the band. They didn't want a hired gun or a stand-in or anything like that. They wanted someone who gave 1,000% to the band, and they'd give 1,000% back. So it was you know, you can imagine some situations not being like that. You know, it might have been two guys that call the shots, and you're there picking up your paycheck or whatever that might be. But this was clear from the beginning, from Rob and Glenn, that they wanted someone in the band. They wanted someone pulling with them, and that was a great thing, you know. And it's been the same ever since. They were humble guys. We were at Glenn's house. You know, we had a cup of tea each, and we were just talking, and it was just an informal conversation, but a deadly serious one from where I was coming from. You know, this is like make or break territory. And Glenn was actually, he was saying, he wouldn't know, he wanted to hear me play a few things. He'd seen some stuff online, he knew my pedigree, so to speak, but he wanted to hear me play some stuff, you know, live in front of him. And he said if it was him, he wouldn't know what to play, he wouldn't know what to come up with. And I said to him, you know, I've been a guitar player for a long time, playing lead guitar, and if I can't think of anything to come up with now, I might as well quit. You know, Glenn Tipton was asking me to play something. If I can't think of anything, there's no point in doing it. So, but it was really informal and really laid back, and it, you know, just seemed to be the right approach to take, I think. I think a lot of it is, there's a million guitar players, billions of guitar players, billions of drummers, billions of vocalists, bass players, whatever it may be. A lot of it, I'd say a third of it, is there's more to the instrument than playing the instrument. You know, it's who you are, how you get on with people. You're travelling a lot in lines for airplanes, on buses. I think a lot of it is about your personality. You know, your playing is almost getting you in the door in the first place. The rest of it is who you are as a person. And Rob had like a very, you know, he was a very personal guy, but made it very clear that that was what it was about. You know. So, and it's, again, you learn from these guys, they're masters, and when you analyse that sort of audition, you realise what's going on there and what's important, and they know what's important, and you can hopefully take that on into the future in many ways. So I'm still learning from them every day.